Good evening, everybody. It's Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024, and this is a regular meeting of the Moscow City Council. Julia.
Please stand if you're able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Julia, and everybody out there. First up tonight is the consent agenda, and this represents items that have been previously vetted by the Public Works and Finance Committee or the Administrative Committee and are composed mainly of housekeeping, routine, or non-controversial issues.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay.
Can you turn it up? Volume?
Check, check. How's that? Better in the back?
Yeah, I don't think I can get any closer. It's like,
You have it in it, Gina. Come on. That's right.
I could sit up
Yeah,
on the
Could use
table.
my teacher voice.
Better yet? A little better? Need some more?
Totally
It's
understand.
going to be fully amplified
We
tonight.
are gonna be, every
Concert
risk-
hall.
We risk feedback if we turn it up too high, folks.
Maybe if you're hard of hearing, somebody in the back can come up towards the front if you guys don't mind changing around. Great.
Good, okay.
Okay, great. So now we're on the verge of voting for the consent agenda. Haley,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Aye.
yeah,
Gina.
Julia,
Aye.
and Bryce.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next up is mayor's appointments, and I have one tonight. Appointing Kimberly Crimmins to the Moscow Arts Commission, expiration date 12/31/2027.
Sir? I move that we approve the slate of
Slate of one.
one applicants to the commissions.
I'll second.
Yep.
Okay, Bryce seconds. Okay, Bryce,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Haley.
Aye, and thank you for applying to fill our commission seats.
So does Kimberly happen to be out there?
She's one of the few that's not.
Okay, everybody else in town's here. Okay, next up is the public comment, mayor's response period. And for the next 15 minutes, busted up into 3-minute increments, we invite people to come up to the podium, state your name, your address, and tell us what's on your mind about the way the city's going or anything else, as long as it's not on tonight's agenda, nor pending before the public work or pending before Planning and Zoning Commission or before the Board of Adjustment. Any takers? Perhaps predictably not. Okay, that takes us up to the next one, which is appeal of the Board of Adjustment decision regarding 414 South Main Street. Bill Belknap will be presenting. Comment before we get rolling on this. This is a quasi judicial matter in which the city council will be sitting in a deliberative mode, much like a court sits on cases there. And it follows much the same rigid protocols, features associated with that. So we'll be running this just like court does. And with that, Bill, you're on.
Projector to. Well, it's being strange this evening. Well, that's probably about the best we're going to get. Let me get rid of that menu. Here we go. Okay, so to provide some background on the matter before you this evening, on February 12th of this year, Brenda Von Ruska requested a zoning determination regarding whether administrative offices of New St. Andrews College could occupy a building currently addressed as 414 South Main Street. Previously, that was the property that was home of the Pritchard Art Gallery and most recently the Contemporary Gallery. On February 21st, 2024, Administrator Decision 2024-01, which ruled that the proposed occupancy would not be permissible underneath Moscow zoning code. On March 1st, 2024, the applicant requested reconsideration of the decision, providing some additional information for consideration. And on March 21st of this year, the zoning administrator issued a new decision 2024-02, which affirmed the prior decision regarding the allowance of the use on that property. On April 15th, 2024, the applicant filed an appeal to the zoning administrator's decision in accordance with Moscow City Code Section 482. On June 11th of 2024, the appeal was considered by the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And that evening, the board reversed the decision of the zoning administrator, and they approved their written decision, confirming that decision on June 18th of this year. On June 27th, the zoning administrator filed an appeal of the Zoning Board of Adjustment's decision to the City Council, which brings us here this evening. Per Moscow City Code, grounds upon which an appeal to the City Council may be made following a final decision by the Board of Adjustment or the Planning and Zoning Commission includes the following: that the decision violates statutory or constitutional provisions, that the decision exceeds statutory authority, that the decision was made upon unlawful procedure, that the decision was unsupported by substantial evidence in the record or as a whole, or the decision was arbitrary, capricious, or an abuse of discretion. The zoning administrator has appealed the decision and has cited the basis of that appeal as that the decision by the Board of Adjustment was both unsupported by substantial evidence in the written record and it was arbitrary. Under Moscow City Code 489B3, an appellant must indicate in their request of an appeal whether they are requesting oral argument before the council. The zoning administrator did not request oral arguments in the appeal filing. Under Moscow City Code 489B6, if no oral argument is requested, city staff will introduce the appeal, and then the council may ask questions of the appellant and city staff, and then the council will conduct its deliberation. This is not a public hearing this evening. There will be no oral arguments presented or given to the council. You'll be making this decision based on the written record. That was the same information that was before the Zoning Board of Adjustment in their consideration of this matter. The question before the board was whether the zoning administrator interpreted and applied the zoning code correctly in making their decision. The issue before the council this evening is whether the board interpreted and applied the zoning code correctly in their overturning of the zoning administrator's decision. The council has a complete record, as I mentioned, related to this matter that includes the written decisions, the packet materials for the board, a transcript of the meeting, video recordings, and all other recorded documents for your consideration in review of this matter. The appeal before you claims again that the decision of the Zoning Board of Adjustment was both unsupported by substantial evidence in the written record and was arbitrary. The actions available to the council this evening, after considering the record, the reasons for the appeal, oral arguments which are not requested this evening, the council shall take one or more of the following actions. The first would be to sustain the decision of the board or the commission or in whole or in part. So if the council sustains the decision, then you are affirming the decision of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. You can reverse the decision. You can reverse the decision by the board or commission in whole or in part. So if you are reversing this decision this evening, you're reverting back to the zoning administrator's original determination. The third option available is to remand the matter back to the lower body. Generally, that is only allowed where the appellant shows that there is new information that was not readily available at the time the board considered it, and that it's in the public's interest for that information to be added to the record and to be fully considered. As all you have is the original record before you, really there's no new information, so remanding is unlikely an action the council will take this evening. As the council decides this matter, the council does need to articulate the rationale and basis for the decision and to instruct staff to prepare a written decision for your consideration that would become your formal written decision on this matter. With that, if you have any questions procedurally, I'd be happy to answer those, but that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it, Bill.
Okay, no questions. So at this point, the council commences its deliberations. So who would like to go first?
I'm happy to start, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I'm happy to start. And
Joaquin in the back, could you turn it down just a little bit. We're getting feedback.
And first, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and just showing interest in city affairs. I think that's really awesome to see how the community shows up for moments like this. So first and foremost, thank you for that. Second, with regards to the issue before us and staying within the parameters that's in our packet and being asked to kind of work through this council action, the thing that I found most worthwhile and kind of trying to find out where I landed on this decision was working back through the transcript. Because as a council, right, we're being charged with seeing if the Board of Adjustments made their decision in an unsupported by substantial evidence or was arbitrary. And I've got a long list of various kind of like markers in the transcript that I'm happy to kind of work us through if we would like, if that would be useful. Because ultimately, I think that through the transcript, it was pretty clear that a lot of members on the 4 members on the Board of Adjustments rushed through this process and kind of came to a consensus that ultimately kicking it back to us would just get it off their plate. And so in that capacity, I find that their decision is arbitrary, and thus I will advocate for and argue for the fact that the use of office spaces at 414 does constitute an educational and university expansion that is clearly in violation of the city code from 2019. And I will advocate that we go back to the original zoning administrator's decision back earlier this year. And I could, if you want, again, I've got bullet points of the transcript of dialogue that it was kind of like reading the play, which actually was fairly amusing, actually, as an old theater kid. A long play. Long play.
So,
Yeah, it's a long play. So
yeah, so I'd hold on to them for a minute and let the other counselors have a swat at it, and then we
Absolutely.
can get back to you.
Mr. Mayor,
Madam.
sorry.
go ahead, Julie.
I would agree with Bryce that the decision by the Board of Adjustments was not supported by substantial evidence. And that it was an exercise to kick it to the city council for our decision, which is fine. But it's not well substantiated in terms of the relation to the code.
Group?
Yeah, I'd like to say it's very rare that we get this many people here. So thank you for showing up and being invested in your community. I also will say that we don't see a lot of these issues come before council. And so, but with our duty to govern, I've been diligent in reviewing this record, especially with my background in zoning. And it's, like Bryce said, it's a long manuscript and taken a lot of time to read through and highlight. And again, I am happy to go through these things. But based on the Board of Adjustments and their decision, ultimately, I did feel it was rushed, and there was debate of how to proceed with this, and that they needed to take it back to council, which that is our obligation that we have to review. And I was happy to spend the last few days reviewing this diligently. Based upon that, looking at it from both perspectives, several apertures of the code, I also see that there's a lack of what the zoning administrator is offering. And for me, I am here tonight to advocate for reversing the decision. And I am ready to debate some of these options that I've had highlighted, but I'd like some of my other council members that haven't spoke to talk. But I am ready and well prepared and equipped.
I'll go next.
Sure.
I agree in full. It was a long week or more of reading over things and watching things and going through with a comb and different highlighters. And ultimately, when it comes to ruling on how things went, it seemed that the Board of Adjustment was not ready to make a decision. It seemed a little haphazard. And thankful for those folks that work hard on that. All commissions are tough. But I agree that it felt not ready to make a decision, and that because of that, it is arbitrary. And I do agree with the other counselors here that have spoke. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm afraid I don't have a whole lot else to add, except that you're right. Lots of different colors of highlighters and lots of hours reading and backing up and trying to listen again. I did feel like the Board of Adjustment, and I don't know if I felt like it was rushed. I do feel like they were kind of at a point where this needed to be kicked to the council. And again, I hear you. Thank you to the Board of Adjustment, but it became our issue then. At the very basic level, the use of the second floor offices is supportive of college and a university. And I feel like the decision that the Board of Adjustment made then was not substantiated by any evidence. And so I too support reversing the decision in whole.
Haley,
I got nothing to add except gratitude for a grandpa who taught me to stick to the paperwork as a trained lawyer. And what I see is the conclusion that I can come to based on the, I don't know how many, 300, 400 pages of Board of Appeal documentation that we received is that I think exactly what Gina said, which is that as the code stands, the zoning administrator's recommendation is what I would like to uphold. I want to make sure I'm phrasing that right.
at this time, maybe we could go back to Bryce and Drew and obtain a few more of their points to form part of the basis of the written decision that will have to reappear in 2 weeks before council for ratification.
Yeah.
So if you would.
No, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. And I'm going to read directly from the transcript because I think that's helpful for all of us to hear to kind of, again, understand a little bit of like what we've read and what we've gone through. And so I'm near the end of the transcript of the zoning Board of Adjustment meeting from back in June. And one of the Board of Adjustment members says the following: what I've really done with this motion, meaning overturning the zoning administrator's decision, thus kind of encouraging us to deliberate it up here. This commission member says, really what I've done with this motion is put it back in the city zoning administrator to decide if it's worth appealing to the next level or letting that happen. Okay, and personally, I can't say that I'm not sure if this is the right decision, right? So with regards to the decision that the board is going to, so therefore making it more arbitrary. But I can't see us getting out of this any other way. And we could sit here until 11 o'clock trying to decide that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. Okay, and that feels quite arbitrary with regards to the decision-making process from the Board of Adjustments decision-making. So with that, again, I still am in favor with, as what we've talked about as counselors. So, and that transcript is public record if anybody wants to go and look at it afterwards.
Drew, would you like to toss in some more salient points?
Yeah, I'll try to be salient. Well, first on my list, Bryce stole that. So, but I think he did a more eloquent job than I could have of speaking to that. Also, just I believe that there's a lot of blanket statements being made throughout testimony that I happen as I read everything that was assembled by the zoning administrator. I find it to be, again, with my background in looking across many zoning jurisdictions, very complete and concise and consistent. It's a consistent thing that they're ruling on. But the biggest thing that I found was within the transcript, and Bryce just read from that. And I could pull a couple other nuggets where they suggested that. But again, that's where it's very clear to me that this is our decision, and that's where I stand on it. So.
So,
Are we looking for a motion?
I'll make a
well, we
motion.
could if we've run out of discussion and are going to predicate the decision of the council on the point of arbitrariness. So.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion that we reverse the decision decided by the Board of Adjustments in whole.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion,
Do you
folks?
want the rationale before or after this part?
Um,
Is that enough? for you
Rationale
guys?
now, I would say.
So the council's already articulated some reasons why they think the decision was arbitrary. And you've also voiced on the record that you felt that the zoning administrator's written decision, 2024-02, was complete and thorough and had a proper analysis and application of zoning code, then we can rely upon that as well.
At this time, then, I'd like to direct staff to prepare.
First, we have to
We
get
gotta
through
vote
number
first.
one.
That's true.
Right,
So we get to vote on reversal first
Right.
and then direct staff afterwards. So,
Okay.
so everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, Haley,
Aye.
Bryce.
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. So the Board of Adjustments decision is reversed. And now we move on to the second part.
I've been talking a lot if someone wants to, but I'm happy to keep on talking.
You might not be able to for long, so you should just
Yeah,
use that
go
voice.
ahead.
that-
You need to while you can.
All right, yeah, I'd like to direct staff by writing in alignment with the zoning administrator's decision 2024-02 to prepare us to review based upon that and to decide on next
To review and ratify at the next council meeting.
council. That is correct.
Second.
So we don't have to vote on that.
Oh,
It's just-
okay. I didn't know if we were supposed to do it or not. I just wanted to be sure we got something
Everybody
done.
kind of nods and says,
Okay,
there
okay.
you go.
Got really quiet.
Very well said, Drew.
Thank you.
Okay, that item is completed. We move on to item number 5, which is Idaho Revolving Loan Fund Supplemental Revenue Bond Ordinance. With a brief pause.
Come back for the budget.
Yeah, we hold a 4-hour budget workshop every summer, folks, if you ever want to come and join.
Exciting.
Be a big party.
It is fun. I enjoy that
I
part.
enjoy it.
Line by line.
There's always different colors.
I do have to use different, yeah.
I use different.
I do a
Post-its.
lot of Post-its too, yeah,
Hard copy.
Yeah.
This is all digital.
So for this, Mia,
really.
want to catch the doors?
But it's so satisfying.
No, it's very satisfying, but for the budget, it's hard. For this, it's all digital.
Mr. Mayor, while they're shuffling, can I top off my
Sure.
tea? Great, thanks. I'll buy us some time. I'll let you know.
So lots of unclaimed seats for those who'd like to stick around for a bit.
Joanne's sticking around.
But I did not. I oversteeped it. I said water it down.
What are we having here?
So we're just doing a holding pattern here because the hallways are pretty full of chit chat and the noise interferes with what we're doing in here.
It's become my ritual for Monday or meeting nights. I guess. It's on Catherine's.
Okay. Now we're back. So back to the Idaho Revolving Loan Fund Supplemental Revenue Bond Ordinance. Bill.
Thank you, Your Honor. A little bit of background on this topic. In 2014, the city, and actually kind of dates back to 2012, the city identified that had a number of water system improvements that we needed to make in order to comply with certain state standards. The city at that point in time did not have funding in the Water Capital Fund to fund all of those improvements, along with other necessary repairs and ongoing activities of the water department. In 2014, the city sought judicial confirmation from district court to allow the city to incur debt without voter approval for 3 water system improvements that were intended to achieve compliance with specific Idaho Department of Environmental Quality water system requirements. Those were focused on water production capacity as well as fire flow requirements in the city's boosted pressure zone. So kind of those higher elevations of the city where we deliver water, We lose pressure in those areas, and we were unable to meet current fire flow requirements. The specific standards related to the city had a requirement from the state that we had to be able to take our highest producing well offline and be able to meet our peak demand. Well 9, prior to the development of well 10, well 9 was our highest producing well. When we lost well 9, those who have been around a while would note we'd get into some irrigation restrictions. We had some difficulty ensuring that we could keep the water reservoirs full at that time. And then, as I mentioned before, the 6 water pressure booster stations really were sized for domestic flows and were not sized and did not have pumps that were adequate to provide a fire flow. So those were the specific improvements we were needing to make. After receiving judicial confirmation, the city applied for and received $4.3 million in funding from the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality's revolving loan fund. That is a low interest loan pool that the state administers for water and sewer improvements across the state. The city commenced with the design and construction in the initial phase 1, which include drilling well 10, but not the installation of the pump house or controls, and the construction of 3 of the 6 booster stations. So we did the one on Vista, on Taylor, and on White Avenue. Upon completing phase 1 of the improvements, the initial $4.3 million in loan funding was completely exhausted. The city went back and applied for an additional $4.3 million from DEQ, which was approved by the council through Resolution 2019-22. The improvements are now fully complete, so we were able to consolidate 2 of the booster stations. So we now have 5 newly constructed booster stations that are adequate to meet current and anticipated future domestic and fire flow requirements. Well 10, which is our highest producing well, is fully complete online and providing the large portion of the water that we produce and provide. So those construction is now complete. We're ready to then move from the construction financing phase of the project to the permanent bond financing. This will be a sole purchaser of the bonds. We did advertise that as required underneath Idaho Code. DEQ, as the administrator of the program, is the sole purchaser of the bonds. They will have a term of 20 years and an interest rate of 2.25%. And an ordinance providing for the sale of bonds for the council's approval, which is before you this evening. When we did this in 2019, when we converted the first phase into permanent financing, there was a bond ordinance because we knew we were going to have a second installment of bonds were going to be issued. So we can have a structure of a master bond ordinance and then supplemental bond ordinance for each issuance. But this will complete all of the improvements that were reviewed and approved for judicial confirmation in 2014. This was reviewed by the Administrative Committee on August 26, 2024, and recommended for approval. So staff's recommendation this evening is the council approve the ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings and then be read by title and published by summary. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the council might have.
Mr. Mayor.
Madam.
I don't have any questions on that. I will say, when we talked about this in our committee meeting, if it hadn't been an ordinance, we would have just approved it then and put it on consent. But that's the reason that it's here, because it has to be read. And so happy that we've gotten to this point. And I would move that we approve the ordinance under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
My only comment was going to be to clarify if we knew that if this is one of those projects, infrastructure projects, where the cost exceeded what we expected, but it sounds like all along we knew that we were going to need to. I'm sure it went up more than expected,
It
but
exceeded what we expected. I think the estimates from the 2012 water comp plan, which were based on 2010 dollars, I mean, the basis of the 4.3 is we thought we were going to get it all done with 4.3.
and by the
And
time
it
we
ended
got
up
to
being
implementing.
slightly
yeah.
more. Of course, we're now, 12 years beyond that date, finally
Wish.
completing the projects. So there has been a fair amount of inflation in the construction market, but yes,
But it wasn't a surprise to DEQ because I'm sure we're not the only ones in that
No.
situation.
correct.
I wish we had 2010 bond and estimate figures, but no further concerns or discussion for me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Okay, for voting, Gina,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
and Bryce.
Aye.
Okay. We have 2024-15, correct?
Yep.
A supplemental ordinance of the City of Moscow, Latah County, Idaho, authorizing the issuance and sale of the city's water revenue bond, Series 2024, in the principal amount of $4,300,000 to provide funds necessary to finance improvements to the city's water system, ratifying the execution and delivery of a loan agreement providing for the sale of the Series 2024 bond to the State of Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, pledging net revenues for the payment of the Series 2024 bond on parity, fixing the form and terms of the Series 2024 bond, providing for other matters properly relating thereto, and providing for the effective date thereof. My
At least we know
goodness.
exactly what the ordinance
Yeah,
is.
that helps a lot.
Stories.
Thank you.
You can blame bond counsel on that one.
So that's the thrills and excitement that go with bond revenues and things. So that's concluded. Don't run off, Bill. The next one is the city supervisor title amendment
Bless you.
ordinances.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city of Moscow established a position of administrative assistant for the city of Moscow in 1959 through passing ordinance 1001. The position as described in 1959 included keeping inventory of city property, acting as purchasing agent, preparing annual budgets, serving as public relations, attending council meetings, and overseeing all department operations, long-range planning, city, and other, all under the supervision of the mayor. At the council meeting of May 14th of 1959, Claire Ingram was appointed as the first person to occupy the newly created position, but the title at the time of appointment was changed, and it was noted as being city supervisor, and it was actually city supervisor and treasurer at that time. It was a combined position. Since that time, over the years, the city has amended its code to formally change the title of the position to city supervisor. But today, that is a little bit of an antiquated title. It's not one that you see very often in the professional public administration, and there really is nobody else in the state of Idaho in a similar position that has that same particular title. I think Moscow and Pullman held on to that title because John Sherman and Gary were kind of two long-standing city supervisors that held those positions. City of Pullman changed that title about halfway through Adam Lincoln's term over with the city of Pullman and changed it over to city administrator, which is really the term that's more commonly used today. Not city manager. That is a very different term and a distinctly different form of government. So we are still a strong mayor form of government here with the independently elected council. And there's only a delegation of some authorities that I work underneath the mayor's supervision. So not to be confused at all with the title of city manager. Very different. Staff is proposing to retain existing duties and responsibilities, but just to change the title of the position. Unfortunately, it's not that easy as it does appear in city code, so it does require a couple of ordinances to make that change. The proposal also would affect the deputy city supervisor positions, the two that we have. So those are also proposed to be changed as well. This was reviewed by the mayor and council leadership and recommended to advance. Staff has prepared essentially two ordinances for your consideration this evening. The first of which amends Title II, Chapter 4 and Chapter 14. Those are the two sections of the city code that address appointed positions and officials. So that would change the official title of that. And then there is a second following trailing ordinance that essentially cleans up all existing references in city code to that title to correct it to the new proposed title. Both these draft ordinances reviewed by the administrative committee on August 26th and recommended for approval. So council action this evening, staff's recommendations are to approve the ordinance amending Title II, Chapters 5 and 14 under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete separate readings and be read by title and published by summary. And if that ordinance is approved, then approve the ordinance amending all city code references to city supervisor and deputy city supervisor under suspension of the rules, requiring 3 complete and separate readings and be read by title and published by summary.
Mr.
That, if you
Mayor,
have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Mr. Mayor, I just have one. Are we changing chapter 5 or chapter?
Chapter 5 and 14, both.
And then,
5 would be the city supervisor, 14 is the deputies. And then the second ordinance has multiple changes.
We have a little bit of the actual language in the ordinance reads Title II, Chapter 4 and Title II, Chapter 14. There's no 5.
that's why I'm,
Five.
on the print one?
Oh, it says 4 in the
On the
and then
official ordinance
5 in
language.
the actions.
Mia, can you verify what?
It's Title II, Chapter 4 and Chapter 14.
So the 5 is incorrect?
I just want to make sure whatever motion we, and I don't know
Yeah,
if
no,
that
that's
changes
great.
anything for us.
Good catch.
I've got the proposed action saying Title II, Chapter 5 and 14, but then I've got our draft ordinance.
The ordinance is correct. That's
The
my
ordinance
is
typo.
the important
My
bit.
apologies. My
When we
Yep.
get to the, okay.
Yep, that's the important one.
Talk as fast as Bill, but I can't. So I'm going to move that we approve the ordinance amending Title II, 4 and 14 under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary.
Second.
Seconded by Sandra. Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. Julia,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
let's go Sandra,
Aye.
Bryce,
Hi.
Gina,
You trying to remember my name, are you? I'm over here.
Gina,
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
Do you know how hard it is to bounce back and forth
Yeah.
randomly?
Thank you for continuing our request to randomize the voting request order.
Call us by
It
different
actually is
names.
kind of handy because then nobody knows who's up next and you
Awkward.
can't wait and see how everybody else is
Mhm.
voted. There's actually a reason behind the bouncing about,
Mhm.
other than confusing everybody, including myself.
Bingo.
Okay. Ordinance 2024-16. An ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for the amendment of Moscow City Code Title II, Chapter 4, and Title II, Chapter 14, providing for the change of title from city supervisor to city administrator, and providing for the amendment of the title, duties, and responsibilities of the office of deputy city supervisor, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. That one's done.
Do we need a second motion? Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I move that, I've got to get my readers in the good spot here, that we recommend approval of the ordinances amending all city code references to city supervisor and deputy city supervisor under suspension of the rules requiring 3 complete and separate readings, and that it be read by title and published by summary.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. Haley,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Bryce.
Aye.
Okay. Perhaps predictably, this is ordinance 2024-17, an ordinance of the City of Moscow, Idaho, a municipal corporation of the state of Idaho, providing for the amendment of Moscow City Code to change all references of city supervisor to city administrator and deputy city supervisor to deputy city administrator, providing that the provisions of this ordinance be deemed severable, and providing for this ordinance to be in full force and effect from the date of its passage, approval, and publication according to law. Riveting stuff, folks, riveting.
Indeed.
Okay, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. We're into council reports. Nameless Gina.
Guess where I was? Less than an hour.
Tree
I was at
Commission.
Tree Commission, yay! And we had a full house, and they were all here tonight too. It was kind of cool to see my fellow tree people. We did a lot of discussion about the tree seedlings that we will offer the public on September 28th. Don't give up. This is a really good time at the end of the year, beginning, fall time, to plant trees. And so we will be handing out, for those of you that care about this kind of stuff, Canaan firs, Rocky Mountain junipers, western larches, sugar maples, choke cherries, and northern catalpa. Go look at that tree in bloom. Catalpas are gorgeous when they
I believe
bloom.
we have 1 or 2 of them planted out at Milton Arthur Park.
Yes, they have not bloomed yet. But I want to tell you that we'll have 265 seedlings. So get your berries and then get your seedlings, your trees. We will have some information in the utility billing newsletter that comes out as well on how to plant your trees. So save your insert. You don't have to save your bill necessarily. Save the insert, because that's usually the best part, right? We are also working, and it's kind of an interesting long-range planning thing going on too. We're working to diversify the types of tree seedlings that we give out, because there is this constant worry, right, about a monoculture and having that moment of, some horrible pest or whatever killing all of the same ash trees. or all the ash trees. So the cool part is we're thinking, okay, we love to hand these things out, but let's think about how we do that in a responsible way. Okay, now, the coolest thing that has happened in I don't know how many years. One of our members, the tree commission member, Pam Brunsfeld, if you don't know her, she is a retired professor from the university. She's a botanist. And I might get a little verklempt about this because it's such a gigantic honor. She and her late husband did some tree or some plant gathering in eastern Idaho during their graduate school days and the early part of their research. And they actually, it's a type of biscuit root plant called a lumation, and it has beautiful cream colored flowers. As the research has gone on and on with this specific plant, they realized that this is a new species, and they're going to name it after the Brunsfelds.
Love that.
It will be Brunsfeldia. It's actually a species. Oftentimes you end up with a species and then somebody's name afterwards because they found it or whatever. This is even bigger. So yeah. It's giant, and it won't go through all the processes yet for about another year, but we will have the biggest celebration on this Brunsfeldia genus or species that was brought forward. So Pam Brunsfeld, tiny little woman, can whip out more Latin than anybody I know, and is finally going to get some well-deserved. Okay, and that's all I know. Oh yeah, one more thing. Did you guys know that the city has a newsletter?
Yeah.
Okay, have I been sleeping? Found this out in the tree commission today. The city has a newsletter.
So it's essentially a digital version of the utility billing newsletter, so people can sign up to receive it digitally rather than, because we have a number of customers that do not receive physical bills and don't receive that information.
Okay, then my tree people were wrong then in this
Don't rain
point.
on
I
our
kept
parade.
telling them, this is the same thing. Oh no, it's totally different. So anyway, read what's in your billing newsletters,
And your
people.
bill.
And you can go online and read the same thing again if you would like. Anyway, that's all I have.
Sandra.
I can't even come close to topping any of that. That was spectacular, and I do
Yeah,
adore Pam.
it
That's
is.
very exciting. I'd read that earlier, so I'm glad you were able to celebrate that in the tiny fashion tonight. Much bigger celebrations later.
Yes.
This was my 2 weeks where it was, I don't have many meetings, but I do want to just put one more plug in, Falling at the Hamilton, closing out the Herc, dogs, $15 a dog, Christmas time for puppies, right? Howling, there'll be a dog jumping contest, which I get to help organize and run. It's a great day. Come out, starts at 1, goes to 6. Even just come out and watch. You don't have to have dogs to think this is the best event ever. I've gone, I think every year since I've been here. I cannot take my dog because I love her, but she's very disobedient. And so I don't take my dog Beatrice there, nor did I take my dog Holly, nor my old dog Abby. But that doesn't mean I didn't go and enjoy all of it. I did. So take your dogs, have a great time, or just come watch. Best day ever. So that's all.
What day, Sandra?
This Sunday.
Thank you.
September 8th. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Bryce. I got so excited I forgot the date. That and Pam, I just couldn't remember anymore.
Dogs and trees.
And it's
Oh,
a fundraiser, right?
It is.
Okay, so schools started back, University of Idaho started back, so I was able to go to the ASUI senators meeting because I'm the council liaison between the Moscow City Council and the student government at Idaho. So it was great to see the students, and they're all so young and fresh and leaderly. New president this year of ASUI is Martha Smith, and she's a very sharp, very smart young woman who will do a fantastic job. I also went to Pride on the 24th. Is that right? Has it been since council meeting? Sorry, I'm like, am I 2 weeks back? Yes. Went to Pride, which was a lot of fun, great turnout. Gina actually was in the band. She forgot to mention.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it was great.
It was fun.
And did a great job. And it was just good to be out supporting people and making sure they feel welcome in our community. And then I have Farmers Market Commission tomorrow, which is always fun and just great to see community members who work so hard to bring us amazing farmers market. That's my report.
Agreed.
Oh, and I will be at Howling with my dog Mocha, who might get up to her ankles this year in the water.
She did put her
She's
toes in last
feeling
year, I
brave.
saw.
Progress.
The adventure continues. Drew?
Yes, for the commissions I cover, nothing with Parks and Rec. That was canceled due to no business. So nothing to report on there, but I think it's a successful season for the staff and having a great place for kiddos to go in the summertime. So well done there. Pathways Commission, just as a reminder, they are having a walking tour the 17th at Kiwanis Park. So recommend attending that. And then nothing else really. I'd just like to say welcome back to all of our students who attend the different universities in our town. So it's great to have students back. They're important to our community. So welcome back.
Thanks. Bryce?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things. Last week attended the Planning and Zoning Commission where there were a couple of approvals of some various subdivision plats and final PUDs and kind of regular Planning and Zoning Commission business that I think we'll see here in a couple weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Also, the day after our last council meeting was the Human Rights Commission. In September is Inclusive Communities Month. And so the Human Rights Commission is putting on a couple of events that are in support of that Inclusive Communities Month, including the same date as our next council meeting, which is September 16th, is the United Against Hate Forum from 6 to 8:30ish in the 1912 Center Great Room. And from what I understand, both through the Human Rights Commission and some dialogue with the mayor and some fellow councilors up here, it should be a pretty meaningful forum, a pretty meaningful experience. So definitely put that on your radar.
Also features our federal attorney from down in Boise, so.
Yeah. So, and that's on, like I said, September 16th. So 2 weeks from today.
Can I jump on that just quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you want to go, you can register online. If you struggle with that, I don't know what it is right off the top of my head, but you're welcome to email me and I can send you that link.
Thanks, Sandra. And then also with the Human Rights Commission, we're trying to make sure that we get what's called a Braver Angels workshop, and it's going to be a red-blue workshop of essentially a supportive dialogue on how to have meaningful and non-combative discussion with people that you might disagree with. So we're still kind of in the works on that. We should have further clarity about that at the next Human Rights Commission meeting. That's tentatively scheduled for September 28th. So there's still a little bit of dialogue on if that is a complete go, but I think it is. And then lastly, or a couple of things. Lastly, saw Gina perform at Pride, and it was great, just kind of having that lively, festive, inclusive feel up at East City Park a couple of weeks ago. It was fun to partake in. And then the last thing that I'm going to mention, kind of as Drew said, welcome back to all students. But it was really exciting. I don't know how many of you or within the community saw, and this is kind of a weird thing to brag about, but the University of Idaho Vandals football team only lost, again, weird way to state this, only lost by 10 to the number 3 ranked football team in the country. So right. And you know, when I see that, and what was cool is just having kind of my phone blow up from people all across the country, like my friends, to be like, what's going on? and you know, it's pretty neat if you think about the way that the various, you know, institutions that we have in this town and the kind of the way that they're ambassadors for our community. And that includes, I think, the Vandal football team. And so having them perform well on the national level is really inspiring and really cool. And I think that it should hopefully get all of us, if you're into football, if you're into sports, it should get us all excited for the fall and kind of that energy that brings to town. And not to, you know, least to say just the environment and all the people that come to town for that is really exciting to showcase Moscow and for the reason why we all love it. So I was just really stoked on Saturday, even though, you know, it was a loss, but like a good loss, which is, again, pretty cool. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Short stopping you briefly, Haley, for a revisitation of Gina.
Thursday, I forgot to mention that the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission will meet. And I'm excited about that too. Who knows what will happen, but I didn't want to blow them off and not mention it.
Now, Haley.
So the second
half of the month for me tends to be really light on commission meetings, but what I can share is I've been spending a lot of time with our smart transit team. We are in closing our first round of executive director applications. I don't know that Becky watches the meetings, but huge kudos to Becky Couch, who serves as our board president. I'm our board vice president. She's been putting in a lot of time and working with Susan, who is our interim director at SMART, to literally keep the wheels on. So since we have a large audience, did you know we have a free public transportation system in Moscow, supported by a number of stakeholders, including the county, the University of Idaho, and the city. And then we operate with help from Idaho Department of Transportation and the Federal Transportation Authority. I can't remember the acronym soon. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so really cool when people come together to fix a common problem for everyone. So Smart Transit still running, and we're close to filling that position. Bryce, I saw Bryce at the Healing Garden dedication on campus on the 21st. It was a beautiful day. It was a really well done event. I'm really excited to go back when it's not really crowded, because it is a place of reflection. I think the students who helped guide the design and conversation did a really, really tremendous job. Highly recommend just if you find yourself on campus, or put it on your map one way or the other. They did a really great job, and it's a great place for reflection. Speaking of the Vandals, Coach Eck gave us a good pep talk at the Moscow Chamber luncheon in August. The mayor was there too. Yeah, it's just I can get caught up in the feeling that August is the bookend to summer, but I forget with it. I need to remind myself not to lose sight of the enthusiasm that, well, that too. Yeah, I get to wear sweatshirts, but that come with new students and new people falling in love with Moscow. So as we are all here, some new to Moscow, some not new to Moscow, preaching to the choir, we got a special thing going here. And then I think my transportation commission meeting was canceled, and I'm just threw some horseshoes this weekend, and it was great. We're just living the dream, guys. That's what I got.
Good. Yeah, August does represent to an extent the dog days of the year, where things go a little quiescent before everything fires up in a big way again. So I did give a speech at Pride Day. I was over at the Healing Garden dedication as well. Very well attended event and very meaningful and well put together. So congratulations to the students and staff who worked on that. It's really going to be nice. And if you don't know where it is, it's up right in front of the swim center on U of I campus.
Where used to be the best sledding hill in town. I'll make do without it, but it's all right.
I always had the best sledding on the golf course, but
Oh, good point.
so, and also for those who might be interested, I'm looking around for people who may wish to participate in sitting on the airport board's strategic planning team. The airport has to go through a strategic plan that's going to govern what goes on out there for the next 20 years. So some people, if you're interested in the airport, get a hold of me and let's chat it up. It involves some devotion of time, not a whole lot. I think it amounts to 4 sessions of a couple hours each, plus a little bit of prep. So not too bad. Just people with visions and ideas is what's really needed there. And that's all I have. Bill, do you have anything?
Just a reminder, we do have the quarterly regional breakfast meeting next week, Thursday on the 12th, 7 a.m. at the University Inn.
Yep. So put that on your calendars. Do not forget. And with that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.